Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and I'm like,
And try to get to Lake Placid before the snow comes. It's crazy. It's a
Yeah.
lot of
It's
snow.
2.5 hours between Albany and Lake Placid.
Yes, yes. It
I've
is.
done that drive. That's yeah.
It's a drive.
Yeah. It's schleppy, as we like to say down here.
Yeah, it was definitely
Yeah,
a
I like
schlep,
that.
but it's going to be nice. We have a lot of.
You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
so she's
Did they last minute?
Okay.
So
Anywhere.
Rob's not
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sherry's
It's nice.
not coming.
Yeah.
And Hilda's not coming. So this is it. Plus,
Printed out on one page. It's like
he's gonna give you the high sign when we get started.
they first time we met, they had it.
All right. All right. Good morning, everybody. If everybody could have their seat, we're going to get started. Just been given a high sign. We're good to go for our virtual and online proceeding here this morning. So, good morning. I want to call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York State Urban Development Corporation, doing business as Empire State Development for Thursday, December 15th, 2022. I recognize that Benson Martin and Michael Rosen and John Wong are with us here in person, and Hope is with us here virtually. Hi, Hope, and up in Albany. And so I will recognize a quorum, and why don't we go around the room and let the staff identify themselves here, starting with Noah.
Hey, Noah Raymond, Chief of Staff for Hope.
Good morning, Jerome Duvall, Executive Director, Executive Vice President for the Division of Minority Women Business Development.
Good morning, Liz Luskin, Executive Vice President, Division of Small Business and Technology Development.
Hi, Maria Mitchell, Senior Vice President for Life Sciences.
Rich Tagliano, SVP Marketing.
Arden Sacalo, EVP Real Estate.
Arden?
Sylvia Fedoni, Senior Director, New York Ventures.
Matt Bray, Treasurer.
Ray Orlando, Chief Financial Officer. Good morning.
Felisa Hochgeiser, Director of Compliance.
Goldie Wexel, Acting General Counsel.
Faith West, Chair of the World University Games Commission, working for ESD.
Great, thank you. And I see Hope is stuck with Eunice up there in Albany, so Kevin, welcome. Thanks for joining us too. And the team on the side here, thanks for making the meetings happen. So we appreciate it. We are going to go right, get to our pre-items before we get to action items. I want to remind staff members joining us remotely, there's plenty of them on the phone, to please mute your audio when you're ready to speak. The public was given an opportunity to attend today's meeting to provide comments on any agenda items, and we I do not recognize anybody from the public here with us today. In addition, the public was given an opportunity to provide written comments on any and all agenda items as of noon yesterday, and we have not received any public comments on any of the agenda items that we will be addressing today. As always, the directors were and have received written materials, only about 600 pages for this meeting, so in advance of today's meeting, and of course are free to ask questions to me, Hope, and to the staff on any items before us here today. And if any directors have any potential conflicts of interest with respect to any of the items on the agenda, I ask you that when we get to that item to please make the appropriate disclosure on the record and then recuse yourself from any discussion or vote with regard to such items. So our first item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes of November 17th, 2022, Directors Meeting. I will move them. Benson seconds them. Any comments, revisions, or additions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. We're going to move on with the agenda, and I'm going to call on Hope Knight, our President and CEO, to provide her President's report. Hope?
Yes, thank you, Kevin, and good morning, directors. As Kevin mentioned, I'm joining you from Albany, where Governor Hochul will be convening a cabinet meeting today shortly. Albany also happens to be today's stop on the World University Games Torch Relay celebration. Ahead of January's games in the North Country, the World University Games Torch Relay has been crisscrossing the state to drum up excitement and interest in this prestigious international sporting event, which is less than a month away. That New York was chosen to host the games is a testament to our world-class facilities and our legendary winter weather. The games will be a great opportunity to introduce and showcase Lake Placid and the surrounding communities to a global audience. Unfortunately, the game's mascot, Adirondack Matt, could not join us for our board meeting today due to his very busy schedule, but I did have a sighting of him in front of the SUNY campus on my way over. We have Faith West, who serves as chair of the state's World University Games Commission, who will be presenting a more in-depth overview of the games to the board shortly. Faith and some of the other dedicated folks at ESD have been deeply involved with statewide interagency planning and coordination to ensure next month's games are a success. Hopefully, you'll be inspired to join the fun in the North Country this January. As you can see, we've already been thinking about and planning for next year. The team here at ESD has been working closely with the governor's office in preparation for the governor's State of the State address next month. The next few weeks will be busy as we continue to work on new programs and initiatives that will support economic development and opportunity for all New Yorkers in 2023 and beyond. And I'm proud to report that our existing projects and programs continue to bear much fruit. Last week, I joined Lieutenant Governor Delgado in the Hudson Valley to celebrate the grand opening of RBW's new headquarters. RBW makes energy-efficient light fixtures for homes and businesses across the world. It was impressive to see their operations because they're really combining lighting with works of art. And with support from our Excelsior Jobs program, the company is adding 40 new jobs in Ulster County. Earlier this month, Governor Hochul announced the grand opening of the Nexus Center in downtown Utica. This 170,000 square foot sports complex will be used for youth hockey, lacrosse, and soccer tournaments, bringing teams across the U.S. and Canada to the Mohawk Valley. The $64 million project could not have happened without ESD's $22 million in support through the Upstate Revitalization Initiative. And it complements so many of the state's regional investments that are creating jobs and generating economic growth throughout Oneida County. Those are just a sample of the announcements we've made in the last month, and I'd like to take a moment to congratulate a member of ESD's team. Jennifer Teagan, our New York Ventures Director, was recently named Dealmaker of the Year by the Upstate Capital Association of New York. This annual recognition is awarded to a person upstate, a part of the ecosystem who has demonstrated commitment to the region while being an active member of the investment community. Congratulations, Jennifer. In closing, this is our last meeting of 2022. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished as an agency, a board, and in community. Together, we are building a stronger, more equitable, and more resilient New York. I wish you and yours the best for holiday season, and thank you and happy holidays.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Hope. I think I speak on behalf of all of us here that, we think you've done a terrific job in 2022. So many different responsibilities, projects, a great team that you've built here, and so kudos to you. It's been a privilege and an honor to partner and collaborate with you in 2022. I look forward to big and more things in 2023. Also excited, like you are, that Governor Hochul was elected as our governor. She's going to have a bold economic development agenda that we'll learn about in January, and I suspect, Hope, that's going to mean more work for all of us here at ESD, but that's a good thing. And so look forward to it, and thank you for a great year here at ESD.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. All right. So as I mentioned, we're going to
Kevin,
I'm sorry.
can you hold off for 1 minute? We're having a little bit of problem for people that are dialing in.
So does Hope have to give her a president's report all over again?
It's okay now. Okay.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So we're going to just go to the project section items of the agenda, and then we're going to hear the presentation from Faith West Gorman on the World University Games after we get through the agenda items. So we'll start off with the projects in Western New York. And I'm going to ask Paul Tronalone, our VP of Planning and Policy, who has 4 items, and we'll need 4 separate votes. So, Paul, I think after each item, we'll pause, take a vote, and then you can move on to the next item. And so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, I'll start with the first item, which is in Olean, New York, south of Buffalo. The directors are requested to approve a $2 million capital grant for a just over $8.65 million project to Manny Hanny Lender Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of the Savarino Companies, which is a Buffalo development company, to reimburse a portion of the cost of historic rehabilitation and reuse of the over 100-year-old former manufacturer Hanover building in downtown Olean. The project converted the building into a mixed-use complex consisting of 21 mixed-income apartments and 12,000 square feet of commercial space. The project is from Olean's plan for its Round 2 Downtown Revitalization Initiative Award. The project also marks a significant milestone for the City of Olean's Walkable Olean efforts, which first began in 2001. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Right. Any questions for Paul? All right. I will move this. Michael will second it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. There were no public comments. The motion carries. Paul?
Okay, the second item is in the city of Buffalo. The directors are asked to approve a $500,000 capital grant to the city of Buffalo for an almost $8.5 million project to undertake streetscape improvements to segments of 3 streets in the city's downtown entertainment district. That's Franklin Street, Chippewa Street, and Court Street. The project is from Round 5 of the Western New York Regional Economic Development Council's Capital Fund and administered through the consolidated funding application and involved new sidewalks, lighting, crosswalks, and street paving on each of these street segments, all intended to complement the emerging vitality of this entertainment district. And I'll stop there.
Great. Thank you, Paul. You got a lot of exciting things happening up in Buffalo. Great to be a part of it. I will move it. John Wong seconds. No public comments. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Next.
Okay. I'll move on to the third item, which is in the city of Lockport along the Erie Canal. The directors are requested to approve a $923,000 capital grant to the not-for-profit Historic Palace, Inc. towards an over $2.1 million project to restore key portions of the Historic Palace Theater in downtown Lockport, which first opened in 1925. The work represents the last of 5 phases of restoration that started in 2018, and now the theater can host larger, more technically complicated productions to enhance Lockport's reputation as a regional tourist destination. $423,000 of the grant come from the Regional Economic Council's Round 6 a process for the Market New York Capital Fund, and $500,000 came from a 2018-2019 state budget allocation from the Capital Assistance Program for Technology, Infrastructure, and Economic Development, and the balance of the project came from an extensive local fundraising program for the theater. And I'll stop there.
Great. So on this one, we're approving both the REDC grant and then the funds at the direction of the state legislature?
That is correct.
That is correct. Okay, I will move them. Benson seconds them. No comments from the public. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Last item, Paul?
The last item is back in the city of Buffalo. The directors are asked to approve a $1 million grant to Heart of the City Neighborhoods, Inc., a not-for-profit organization that administers housing and neighborhood development programs in the city, to be our local program administrator for the second round of ESD's Commercial District Grant Program in the Kensington Bailey Business District in East Buffalo. The program will provide small business grants up to $100,000 for facade and business renovations in this business district. ESD provides capital funding for the actual grants, and while our philanthropic partners, a consortium known as Eastside Avenue, partners with us to provide funding to Heart of the City to support their capacity and actual personnel needs to run the program. Now, this past June, the directors had authorized a grant for this round 2 program to another not-for-profit entity, which had run the first round in Kensington Bailey. However, as we were progressing to process the actual grant, that organization underwent some significant personnel issues, and both our ESD and our philanthropic partners decided jointly not to proceed and to seek a new partner, which we're doing under this action. The terms of the grant are consistent with our other Eastside local program administrators. It provides $800,000 for the actual grants, up to $100,000 for Heart of the City to contract for architecture and engineering service to offer these services at no charge to participants in the program, and $100,000 for unforeseen contingencies. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Great, thank you, Paul. I'm not sure if I mentioned that at the last meeting, or I know I mentioned it to Paul himself. I'm going to ask Paul at a future meeting to come in. There's so many exciting things happening in the Buffalo area. You know, here we have the East Side. Previous meetings, we approved the funds for West Side projects. Here, we just earlier did the Entertainment District and how they all sort of tie in with each other for a real interest in, you know, overall economic development plan for Western New York and Buffalo. So Paul's going to, you know, sort of brief us on all of it together at a future meeting. So I will move this. Michael seconds it. No comments from the public. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Paul. That concludes your report, correct?
That is correct, sir.
All right, good job. Good job, thank you. All right, next up is Jim Fail from Central New York. He's our Regional Director of ESD's Central New York region. And Jim has 2 items for us. They require 2 votes. So after your first item, Jim, we'll pause and take a vote, then go on to the second item.
All right, sounds good. The first item I'm presenting is a grant to Access Global Enterprises. This is a Round 9 project. It's a $250,000 grant on a $1.4 million investment for machinery and equipment. There'll be 50 new employees to their current 15, 50 new employees. They've currently hired 15. The project is complete, and the total between Excelsior and grant is $430,000. I'll take any questions on that one.
All right. But we're only approving the $250,000 grant here, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Or 280.
280. All right. I will move it. John seconds it. No comments from the public. Anybody have any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Next up, Jim.
The next grant is a $600,000 grant to Marathon Boat Group, Inc., which is a privately owned company that produces canoes and boats. This was a Round 9 Regional Economic Development Council award. This will help the company buy new machinery and equipment and further new production line. The grant funding totals $600,000 on a little over $4 million project. It'll retain 17 employees and add an additional 34. And I'll take any questions.
Good, Jim. Where do they sell their boats? Is it just upstate New York? Are they selling them all over the state, all over the country, or into Canada?
I believe pretty much all over the Northeast.
Very good. And we're retaining 17 jobs here?
Yes.
Good, great. So I will move it. Benson seconds it. No comments from the public. Any questions from board members? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Jim, thanks for your presentations.
Thank you.
All right, let's move up to the North Country, where we have Stephen Hunt. Stephen's our Regional Director of the North Country region. He also has 2 items for us, and we need 2 votes. So, Steve, after the first item, pause, and we'll take a vote, and then you can move on to the second item.
Great, excellent. Good morning. The first is a request of the directors to approve a $700,000 capital grant for ERS Investors, Inc. from the Regional Council Capital Fund, Round 9, for a $3.5 million construction and renovation project of buildings in the former Pfizer manufacturing plant in Rouse's Point. The Rouse's Point plant has been sitting vacant since Pfizer ended operations in 2017, leaving the property to deteriorate. The grantee has sought to repurpose 234,000 square feet at this site to provide capital improvements and initiate an infrastructure build-out for a future industrial park to draw a diverse inventory of businesses back to the area. The first tenant is occupying approximately 30,000 square feet and has employed 6 full-time employees. ERS is seeking tenants to lease the remainder of the space for warehousing, light manufacturing, and data storage, and actually recently secured their second tenant. The initial renovation of this industrial complex will play an important role in attracting additional businesses to the area. The project is consistent with the North Country Regional Economic Development Council's plan by building on growth in the tradable sectors, specifically aerospace, transit equipment, defense, biotech, energy, and manufacturing industries. And the grantee has substantially completed the renovation on Building 25 as outlined in the agreed upon project scope, and so we are bringing it today for consideration.
Great. Thank you, Steve. There are no questions from the public. I will move it. Michael seconds it. Any comments or questions from the board? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Steve, your second item?
The second project is a request to the directors to approve a $1.24 million grant for Easy Stack LLC from the Regional Council Capital Fund, applied through the Round 9 CFA process for a $6.2 million project to purchase and renovate a new facility in Watertown. Easy Stack LLC is a privately owned international manufacturer of mobile workspace systems. In addition to the investment, the Easy Stack LLC will retain 21 employees in New York State and hire an additional 15 employees. The new facility is complete and fully operational, and the company now has more than the 36 obligated full-time employees. Because the company has satisfied its obligations under the incentive proposal, ESD is now recommending that the board authorize the release of funds for this project. The project is a North Country REDC priority project and is in alignment with the region's tradable sector goals.
It sounds great, Steve. Is this Easy Stack's only presence upstate New York, or do they have other facilities?
This is their only presence in upstate New York.
Great, but it's great that we attracted them and they're growing and doing what they said they were going to do. So congratulations on that. I will move that. John will second it. No comments from the public. Any comments from the board? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the Mohawk Valley region, where we have Michael Reese, and he's our regional director of the Mohawk Valley region. Michael?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. The directors are being asked to approve a $2,400,000 capital grant for the Fountainhead Group Incorporated from the Regional Council Capital Fund Round 8. Fountainhead Group is a leading innovator in liquid applicator technologies. They design, manufacture, assemble, and distribute a variety of compressed air sprayers for both the consumer and commercial lawn and garden markets, utilizing several licenses for branding such as Roundup, Husqvarna, and Scott's. The company was originally founded in 1888 by D.B. Smith and was purchased by Fountainhead Group in 1973. It is a global business with offices in New York, Illinois, Ohio, and China. The company purchased 50 acres of land in the Herkimer County Business Park and built a new 200,000 square foot facility to consolidate warehouse distribution into a single location, which will also provide additional manufacturing space in their existing facility. This expansion will improve product flow, minimize scrap, and employ first in, first out inventory strategies necessary to remain competitive and viable. The company has committed to retaining 187 full-time jobs. The CFA grant of $2,400,000 is 12.7% of the total project cost of $18,930,000. This project was completed in September of 2022, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right. Well, Mike, I'm going to ask you a personal question, and that is, every time I buy something that has a sprayer, it works for like the first half of the container, and then when it gets below 50%, the sprayer doesn't work, and I wind up having to buy either a new can or what. So if they could really focus on improving the sprayers, I think that's a great thing for consumers all over the place.
I think the idea is to get you. I think the idea is to get you back buying another sprayer.
I think it's more to buy the product. The sprayer sounds like it's the cheaper part, but that's great that they're expanding and growing and innovating. So I will move it. Michael seconds it. No comments from the public. Any questions from the board? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Michael.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. Yes?
I just want to acknowledge that Mike is retiring at the end of the month, and we want to wish him well and thank him for his service.
Oh, very good, Hope. Thank you for mentioning that. And Michael, we wish you all the best, and the folks in here in New York City will give you a nice round of applause.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure serving ESD and working with the board on growing the economy in New York State. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Well, God bless you and have a healthy retirement. So now we will move on to the Southern Tier, where we have Robert Sweet, and Robert is our regional director for the Southern Tier region.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, board members. For your consideration is an award to the Arnott Ogden Medical Center. It's located in the city of Elmira in Chemung County, which is one of the more western counties of the Southern Tier. It's a $1,500,000 Upstate Revitalization Initiative Award for a project that's a little over $13 million. And the project focus was to upgrade and expand the emergency room capabilities of the Arnott Ogden Medical Center. I think it's important to note that this center has the only emergency room in Chemung County. Even though it's located in the city of Elmira, most of the catchment area for the hospital is very, very rural. So this is a vital, vital investment. It'll allow them to expand the emergency room by 6,300 square feet and then get more modern treatment equipment to better serve the catchment area and the clients. And in exchange, the operation will retain 25 existing jobs.
Great. Hey, Robert, Is this hospital a standalone, independent hospital, or is it part of any type of health system like we have plenty of downstate?
No, it's part of it. The Arnott Health System is comprised of 3 hospitals: the Arnott Ogden Medical Center, in which the project is situate, St. Joseph's Hospital, which is also in the city of Elmira, and the Ira Davenport Memorial Hospital, which is in Bath, New York, which is also in the Southern Tier region.
Got it. And this is the only ER in the area here?
The only ER in Chemung County, and even though in its catchment area is really beyond, larger than Chemung County, Chairman, because Elmira is about 10 miles from the Pennsylvania border, so they draw a cross-border from northern Pennsylvania and surrounding counties in upstate New York. So it's key, and as you well know from your journey to Ithaca over the summer, it's very rural in the Southern Tier. So this is a vital facility.
Got it, yep. Also a beautiful part of our state. It's good seeing you over the summer, Robert. Thank you for that. I will move it. Benson will second. No comments from the public. Any questions for the board members? Hearing none, take a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Carol Longworth. She's our Regional Director of the Long Island region, and I am going to recuse myself from this matter. The project Carol is going to talk to you about. My partner is on the board of this not-for-profit organization. We have no interest. We're not involved in the project itself, but my partner is a former chairman of this organization and currently on the board. But as I said, we're not involved in the project at all. So, Kara, I'll hand that over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, directors. I'm asking the directors this morning to approve a regional council capital grant of up to $500,000 for the Community Development Corporation of Long Island to pay for a portion of the cost of the infrastructure to support the Wyandanch Resource Center, which is part of a mixed-use project in Suffolk County. The total project cost for this mixed-use project was $41 million, and the infrastructure piece was $2.3 million. The project is complete, and the Resource Center opened in May of 2020. The project was a Round 6 priority project for the Regional Council. It's located in and supports the Opportunity Agenda area of Wyandanch. It revitalizes the downtown and provides workforce development resources to the community. Since 2011, the town of Babylon's been working on the Wyandanch Rising Initiative to revitalize 40 acres of formerly blighted land, which is adjacent to the Wyandanch Long Island Railroad Station. The master developer, Albanese, has completed 2 previous residential buildings at this site with 177 units and 30,000 square feet of retail space. The Community Development Corporation of Long Island is a not-for-profit created in 1969 to address the growing demand in the region for affordable housing and invest in housing to create vibrant, equitable, and sustainable communities. Working with the master developer Albanese, the CDCLI applied to the ESD grant to support the mixed-use building that would include the Resource Center. Without the $500,000 grant, the project would not have proceeded. The project includes a 4-story residential building with 124 affordable units and an adjacent 1,200 square foot resource center. The center is a one-stop shop for the residents and the surrounding communities, offering a variety of wraparound services such as employment assistance, workforce development, small business development, and housing counseling. The infrastructure included excavation, foundation, structural steel, insulation, roofing, siding, sewer, water, and sidewalks. The Resource Center has been operational since May, as I mentioned, and the apartments are fully leased. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kara. We need a motion that I will make. Michael makes a motion. John seconds it. There's no comments from the public. Do board members have any questions? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. And I'll let the record reflect that I abstained. I recused myself from that vote. Okay. Thank you, Kara. Next up, we have somebody here in the room, not on the phone. We have Maria Mitchell, and Maria is our Senior VP of Life Sciences. Maria?
Thanks, Kevin. Good morning, everybody. So this morning, we're seeking the director's approval for a New York First grant of up to $1 million for Columbia University. This grant was awarded during the second application cycle of New York First. The total cost of the project is $3 million, and Columbia is contributing $2 million. New York First is a $15 million life science program launched in 2018 and is designed to encourage recruitment of exceptional life science researchers from outside the state or retention of researchers in state who are focused on translational research by providing grants of up to $1 million. Such research often leads to new patents, startup companies, and products with commercial potential. New York First grants are provided for capital and working capital expenditures supporting the newly recruited researchers lab. Columbia University is using this New York First fund to support the recruitment of Dr. Simon John from the Jackson Laboratory in Bar Harbor, Maine. Dr. John is a recognized expert in the use of animal models to develop a new understanding of and therapies for the treatment of a variety of blinding eye conditions, is serving as professor of ophthalmic sciences. 5 additional researchers have joined Dr. John from the Jackson Lab. Since the start of this grant, Columbia has hired 14 new employees, including 12 from outside of New York State. In addition, Dr. John has been awarded more than $5.9 million in NIH grants and private funding to support his work. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Right, so our grant helps them attract the federal NIH monies as well, and they're hiring people, and those people may discover or patent something that'll lead to some type of, a translation into some additional commerce for our region.
Absolutely.
Right.
For a long time, the story was that places like Massachusetts and California and others would poach from New York institutions, and the startup companies would go there. And so this grant is designed for us to bring stars from other places to New York and
Very
help
good.
commercialize. So it's actually worked very well. Thank you.
Great to hear. Thanks, Maria. I will move this. Is there a second by John? Any questions from the board? None. There are no public comments. So all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Maria. Next up, we have Sylvia Cotney, and she's our Senior Director of New York Ventures.
Thank you. We're asking for an investment in Kintra Fibers. So Kintra Fibers develops bio-based and compostable synthetic fibers that will be replacing polyester. Polyester is the fiber that is most common in your clothing. It's more than 70% and is based in fossil fuels. So this product would replace that with bio-based products and that are compostable. This is also important because the other thing that the product does is to avoid pollution of the oceans. Every time we wash our clothes, microfibers go into the water and to the ocean, and is the equivalent of 50 billion bottles of plastic in our oceans. So the company is headquartered and has the R&D facility here in Brooklyn, New York, and is, of course, working in the fashion industry, which is one of the main industries of the state. The New York State Innovation Venture Fund staff is requiring an investment of up to $1 million to participate in Kindra's Series A funding round. Proceeds from this financing will be used to expand the team, to do several customers at pilot scale, and to scale up manufacturing. As part of the due diligence process, New York Ventures staff and the External Investment Advisory Committee has evaluated the company's business plan, the growth prospects, and also the terms of the investment. As a result of the analysis, New York Ventures staff and the AIC both agree that the market opportunity, the growth potential of the company is deserving of the investment from the New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund. And we would recommend that for approval.
Okay, so if I get this right, so fibers typically in our clothes today, they need petroleum to make those fibers, and Kindra is going to be making a synthetic fiber that doesn't use any type of fossil fuel to make its fibers.
Correct, that's exactly correct, yes.
Very cool. So, we're going to soon have LED. We're going to have soon LED clothing, and I think that'll be a big hit. Do you still consider this company a startup?
Yes, because they have made some pilots with fashion brands and start to see that they can produce their product. And one of the next steps is going to be to put it in actual commercial clothing. So we are supporting the company to make this a step into going commercial. So there will be several steps. That's the normal process. But yeah, we're going to get them out of the lab into the real world.
Very good. And this is our first investment with this company?
Yes.
Very good.
And we are, of course, co-investing as we always do.
Very good. Thank you. So I will move it. Benson, you will second. Any comments from the board? Here are none. We have no comments from the public on this. So all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? The motion carries. Sylvia, thank you very much. Look forward to hearing an update in a year or so to see how this company is doing.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. That brings us to the administrative action items on the agenda, and we have 5 of them, although I can't figure out what the difference is between C and D, but Doug Janice is here with us, and he will tell us, and this is something that we could vote on in an omnibus resolution, so 1 vote for all 5 items. Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, directors. As the chairman just stated, in order to help streamline our board meetings, we previously implemented an oral summary presentation process in connection with the administrative items. You receive a full set of written descriptive materials for each item in your board materials, as you have for this meeting, but rather than having individual oral presentations made on each, I'll provide a brief summary of the items at the conclusion of the summary. We will then entertain any comments or questions directors might have. The 5 items submitted for your consideration today and for which we have received written materials are summarized as follows. Item 5A is relative to an authorization to make statutory payments and take related actions pursuant to the New York State Electric Generation Facility Cessation Mitigation Program. Today, the board is being asked to approve 2 payments pursuant to that program. These payments will offset reductions in property tax revenue to 2 local government entities due to the closure of electric generating facilities in their respective jurisdictions. The first to the Kenmore, Town of Tonawanda Union Free School District in the amount of $562,650 due to the closure of the Huntley Electric Generating Facility in March of 2016. And the second to the Barker Central School District in the amount of $2,174,148 due to the closure of the Somerset Electric Generating Facility in March of 2020. And approval of these payments will bring total disbursements from the fund to approximately $57 million of the $140 million authorized for the program. Our next item, 5B, is an authorization to enter into a contract with Carasoft Technology Corporations and to take related actions. Directors are being asked to approve a contract with Carasoft Technology Corporation to upgrade the version of the cloud platform that builds, delivers, and optimizes our various websites. Acquia is a Drupal platform performer for all New York State government websites. It provides hosting and development environments for New York State government entities. And Carasoft Technology Corporation is the only certified reseller of the Acquia product. So ESD is currently operating on Drupal version 7, which will hit end of life in November of 2023, and as such requires ESD to upgrade prior to that deadline. The proposed term for the contract is 1 year with a total amount not to exceed $638,958.55, and the contract will be funded with corporate operating funds. Items 5C and 5D are relative to amending contracts with a particular broker entity, Robert Cohn Associates, Inc., DBA CBRE, Albany, LLC, provide brokerage services in connection to marketing with the sale of 10 North Pearl Street in Albany, New York. And as you know, the directors previously approved an amendment to CBRE's contracts at the July of 2022 meeting to extend the duration and increase the amount of that contract These two items are being presented to the directors again because there was a typographical error in the previously approved July 2022 amendment related to the name of the entity. In all cases, the source of the funds for CBRE's contract is the proceeds from the sale of 10 North Pearl and not any corporate funds. Our final item is item 5E, which is relative to the reauthorization to enter into a contract with corrected commencement and completion dates for research and development of the New York State Apple industry relating to the Apple Research and Development Program, the Market Order Program, and an authorization to take related actions. Staff is requesting the directors approve to amend a contract for the Apple Research and Development Program. This item was also approved by the board in July of 2022, but it was later realized that the materials stated the incorrect start and end dates of the contract. Line material stated the anticipated term was from April 30th of 2022 to April 29th of 2023. Reauthorization of the contract is sought for the limited purpose of correcting the contract's anticipated term to the period commencing April 1st, 2022 and ending on March 30th, 2023. As a reminder, the Apple Research and Development Program funds research and development of the New York State Apple industry through research of apples and Apple products. Additionally, this program does not utilize any state funds. And with that, I will now turn it back to our chair, who will call for any questions or comments you may have on any of the items before calling for a vote. We also have item-related staff on the line today as well to take any questions. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Doug. Any questions from any of the directors to Doug? Hearing none. I will move all 5 of these items in one motion. John seconds it. No questions from the public. So all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Doug. And our last item on the agenda is our presentation. Today we have with us Faith West-Gorman, and she heads up our World University Games, and she is going to explain to us what they are, because I'm not familiar with them.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. It's my honor to be here. So I like how you gave me that introduction because I'm going to explain what the games are. I'm going to go through the why we did this, what the structure is, etc. So the World University Games.
I'm sorry, Hope? Did you have a question or a comment?
No.
Oh. Okay.
Thank you.
Can you give a presentation? Let me get my fat head out of the way.
Sure. So the Universiade is an international multi-day, multi-sport event organized for university students between the ages of 18 and 25 by the International University Sports Federation. But for this presentation, I refer to them as FISU. New York State has been a host of these games. We are the only state in the country that has ever hosted the games, and we've hosted it 3 times. We hosted them in 1972 in Lake Placid, in 1993 in Buffalo, and now the 31st FISU Games will be hosted in 2023, again in Lake Placid. So these games have served almost as a spark for sustainable change in the North Country. These games will help promote the North Country and the New York State, actually, both nationally and internationally. So we are revitalizing those existing ORDA venues that I'm sure you're all familiar with. And so typically, when you see these beautiful Olympic venues, sometimes instead of holding on to that legacy and that infrastructure, sometimes they can become relics. Well, New York State chose not to do that, and so by not doing that and revitalizing those venues through hosting a games, we become a relevant tourist destination, and we establish a legacy that will continue to drive the economy for future generations. And I'll take a moment at the end of this presentation to talk a little bit about what we've already been doing as far as those sports and hosting events. So now that you kind of understand the games, I want to speak a little bit about the games structure. So in 2018, 4 host partners signed an attribution agreement with FISU. And FISU, you can look at FISU as the IOC. They are the governing body of these games, giving these host partners license to hold the 2023 games in Lake Placid. Now the host partners are, and I've tried to put in here kind of compartmentalizing everyone's role. There's the host city, which is the village of Lake Placid. Then there's a USI-USF or the NUSF. They are you can look at them as those are the people that get all the NGBs together, and they make sure to send the athletes to these games. Then we have the Olympic Regional Development Authority, or ORDA. They are a host partner acting on behalf of New York State, and they also manage most of the venues of these games. And finally, we have the Adirondack North Country Sports Council, or I refer to them as the Organizing Committee. I refer to them as LP23. They basically are responsible for organizing most, if not all, of these events. They're dealing with the athletes. They're organizing the accommodations and whatnot for the games. So what is the New York State World University Games Commission? Well, in 2018, the governor signed an executive order establishing the World University Games Commission, and we are charged with providing oversight and coordination of all efforts of state government that will be necessary to successfully bring the games to New York State. I presently work with 15 different agencies, departments, divisions, offices, and authorities to make this commission up. In fact, I'm honored today that I have one of my designees from ESD, Rich Gagliano, is in the room. He serves on a bunch of our marketing working groups and our ceremonies working group. And then I also work with Adam Ostrowski and Anna Packman on marketing, and Brendan Healy and Jay Vito do tremendous amount of work administering that grant for ESD. So as you see, I have a lot of acronyms up here. I have ORDA, Empire State Development, DOB, SUNY, DOT, DOH, ITS, DEC, New York State Police, and DISHES. And then also involved are Parks, OGS, Ag and Markets, DOCS, and Division of Military and Naval Affairs. So we have a lot of groups working together on this. And within this commission, the governor needed to appoint a chair. I was appointed as the chair on behalf of ESD, and my role is essentially to organize all of these agencies together to work to help support and drive these games forward. There are 23 functional areas within these games, and when I say a functional area, it can be security, it can be medical, transportation, accreditation. So within that, the commission designees sit on each one of these working groups that we've established. So obviously on public safety, I have NYSP, I have DISHES, I have OEM, I have OIEC, and then they will work with private security, who is contracted by the organizing committee. We have medical, obviously DOH is on that one, transportation, DOT is involved, and marketing and sponsorship, I have a lot of help from ESD on that one. So I have many working groups how we function together as partners in these games. So let me give you some facts about the games themselves. They take place January 12th through the 22nd, 2023. We have 85 medal events. Assuming 600 universities will be in attendance, that should equate to 50+ countries, and 1,500 athletes and coaches will be participating. We just received the forms for all the countries that are confirmed on Monday, and so they're going through them all, but they're anticipating at least 1,500 coaches and athletes. So now I want to show you where all this is taking place. If we start over to the left, you'll see that we have Roos House, which is at SUNY Canton, Maxey Ice Arena, which is at SUNY Potsdam, and Cheadle Arena, which is at Clarkson University. This is where all the preliminaries of ice hockey will take place, both men's and women's. And one other note, SUNY Potsdam is also housing all of the hockey players at Knowles Hall. There'll be about 535. I do want to just point out quickly, as we're talking about hockey and we're talking about Lake Placid, Russia and Belarus will not be participating this year. That was a FISU decision because of the war in Ukraine. And so then in this central area, we have the Saranac Lake Civic Center, which is also the recipient of a ESD grant, and they will be hosting curling. We have the Olympic Center, which will host speed skating, short track speed skating, figure skating, and the finals of men's and women's ice hockey in the Herb Brooks Arena. And also at the Olympic Oval, the speed skating oval made famous by Eric Heiden's 5 gold medals in 1980, that will host long track. And then we'll have the Olympic Jump Complex, which will host obviously ski jumping, as well as the other half of Nordic Combined. And then we'll have Mount Van Hovenberg, which will host Nordic Combined, cross country, and biathlon. And Whiteface Mountain will host alpine downhill skiing. And then if we go down to North Creek, you'll see Gore Mountain will host snowboard, ski cross, and parallel. And within these areas, as I had mentioned, we have to have accommodations. So I've already told you about the accommodations at SUNY Potsdam for the hockey players. We will also be utilizing many of the hotels within the Lake Placid region for some of the athletes. And Paul Smith's College actually will host a lot of the Nordic athletes. I want to say they have around 525 athletes staying at Paul Smith's. And down near Gore Mountain in North Creek, the organizing committee is utilizing the Great Escape to house those athletes that'll be participating down in Gore Mountain. So this is a big footprint for these games. And finally, let's talk a little bit about the impact and the legacy. The overall impact, let's talk about ORDA for a moment. ORDA regularly measures the economic impact and will be doing so again after the 2022-2023 games. Tourism Economics provided a measurement back in 2019 and 2020, before all of this revitalization had occurred, and that illustrated that $273 million was provided as an economic impact to the region, which was a 75% increase over the prior year. And I told you earlier about what ORDA is doing. As a spark from these games, ORDA is also hosting the World Ski Jumping Competition in February of 2023, the ISU World Synchronized Skating Championships in March of 2023. They also last week hosted the push track and bobsled competitions, and this weekend they are hosting the World Championships of Bobsled, and they're already booking international events into 2025 and 2026. I just showed you the map earlier on the expansion of the Olympic region. The Olympic region is no longer just Lake Placid, but obviously it spills out into Wilmington, Potsdam, Saranac Lake, Canton, and North Creek. And as far as the international exposure of the region as a world-class tourist destination, the FISU Games, as you had said, never heard about those. There was a 3% awareness of the FISU Games in the United States. However, in Europe, there's an 80% awareness. So broadcast is really important here so people can see what we're doing here in New York State. So the events in New York State, because of broadcast, will have the optimal coverage because it's all broadcast in prime time in Europe. So we are working with ESPN. When I say we, LP23 is working with ESPN. They are the official broadcaster of these games. They will carry 20 hours of linear and over 194 hours of digital on all of their platforms. And in addition to that, the games will be carried on TSN in Canada, on FISU TV, on Eurosport, and potentially the Olympic Channel streaming. So in total, all streaming will account for 600 hours on all platforms. So everyone will be able to see all of these good events taking place. The only thing that you won't see is the preliminaries of ice hockey out in West. They'll be shown on ESPN. I think it's 1, 2, or plus. The gold and silver, obviously, and bronze rounds will be shown on those platforms. And finally, let's talk about the history a little bit. As you know, Lake Placid hosted the 1932 Olympic Games with Sonia Henney, the 1972 FISU Games, what I had just mentioned, and the 1980 Miracle on Ice and Eric Heiden Olympic Games. And they also hosted the 2000 Goodwill Games. So this is evidence that the return to the World University Games in 2023 is evidence that New York State continues to maintain its assets and hosting these high-level international competitions, and this event adds to the region's historical significance once again. So do you have any questions at all about the World University Games in less than 30 days?
Well, I'm blown away. I was not aware of this. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And it's great that New York is hosting it, as you said, for the third time.
Yes, third time. We're the only state that's ever done it. North Carolina is interested in doing it. And we're going to be talking to them, help them through that process. And I think they want to do the summer in 2029, I think.
And if you said it and I missed it, I apologize. But are the teams university or college based? Or is each team from a separate, or are universities and colleges combining players for a team, or how does that work?
I think, well, the NGBs decide who's coming. But to give you an example, only because I got this notification this morning, first thing, because I'm a hockey fan. They just announced the USA team for men's and women's. And the USA women's team is comprised of a bunch of D1 players from all over different colleges in the U.S. And the men's team is comprised of D3 players from many different colleges all over the United States. So they're forming these teams together.
So we have a United States team.
Oh, yes,
in
we
FISU.
do.
That's it.
Yes,
And
yes.
And the kids
We're gonna have a very good team.
are men and women from all of our colleges and
All
universities.
of colleges, they must be a university student to participate in these games, yes.
Community colleges count?
Yep. As long as you're taking classes, you're a university student, yes.
And how many countries are competing against each other again?
Well, it depends on the sport.
Okay.
So I
But
would
in
say
general.
we have around 50 different countries, but one country may just participate in downhill. They may not participate in all the different sports, and others may have, I think Kazakhstan is sending hockey, and I think they're sending downhill, but we're just getting all that information now.
And have any of the participants participated in the Olympics, or we may see them in the Olympics?
You may, yes. I think, actually, if anyone's familiar with Paul Wiley, he is the director of sport at ORTA. He was a FISU participant in the 80s and then went on to the Olympics.
All right.
Yes.
Last question. And have we measured the economic impact to the North Country for this activity? Yeah.
Well, we have the history of what we believe
What do we
ORTA has
anticipate?
that. And
Is this
so
going to generate X million dollars for upstate? Do we have a ballpark?
I don't have a ballpark for you today, no, but I do know that they are doing an economic impact study in 2022 and 2023 as a result of what these games will, and we'll be able to get back to you and let you know what that'll be for sure.
Very good. Great. Anybody else have any questions? It's great. You know, every time, I've said this at all the meetings I've chaired so far, and this is why I asked Hope to allow us to have some type of special presentation at each meeting. This organization, ESD, does so many cool things, and not everybody knows, including the board members, know everything that's going on here. And we got terrific professional staffs that run these programs, and they're terrific for our state. They create economic activity, and it's exciting. This is so it's very cool to always learn about these things. So thank you very much for the terrific
pleasure.
and enthusiastic presentation.
Thank you.
And and look forward to hearing feedback once the events are over and the study is done.
Yes, thank you.
All right, great. All right, so that concludes our official agenda today. Is there any other matter or business or issue that any board members want to raise at this time? Hearing none. Debbie, I believe, has circulated the 2023 calendar of board meetings to all board members, so please make sure that gets into your calendar. Our next meeting is going to be January 19th. God willing, a triple-demic that, is upon us doesn't convert that meeting into a virtual meeting, but as of right now, it is scheduled to be here in this room. And so I want to wish everybody very happy, healthy, and safe holiday season. And Hope and Kevin, your best to you guys as well. And, again, thank the staff for a really great year. It's been a privilege to work with all of you and look forward to an exciting 2023. So with that, John makes a motion to adjourn. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. That very good. Happy and merry.